Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered how a signal from Earth can travel thousands of kilometers into space, bounce off a satellite, and come back down almost instantly to deliver a phone call, a television broadcast, or internet data? It feels almost supernatural. How can invisible signals reach something orbiting far above the planet and still remain strong and clear enough to be useful? Today, we are going to explore exactly how satellite communication works. We will break down the journey of a signal, the technology that makes it possible, and the fascinating history and future of this system. Stay with me until the end, because once you understand it, you will never look at the sky in the same way again. Let's start with the big picture. Communication satellites are essentially relay stations in space. Instead of wires or undersea cables, satellites use radio waves to carry information between distant points on Earth. Imagine standing on one side of a valley and shouting. Your voice fades quickly, blocked by distance and obstacles. Now imagine a friend standing at the top of a hill, repeating your message so the people on the other side can hear it. That is what a satellite does. It listens to signals from Earth, amplifies them, changes their frequency to avoid interference, and sends them back down to another location. This process happens so quickly that for the user, it feels almost instantaneous. How do the signals reach the satellite in the first place? On Earth, specialized antennas called ground stations send powerful radio waves aimed precisely at the satellite's position in orbit. These antennas are not like the small dish on your house. They are huge parabolic structures, sometimes dozens of meters wide, designed to focus energy into a narrow beam. This ensures that the signal travels the tens of thousands of kilometers needed to reach the satellite. Once the satellite receives the signal, it passes it through transponders. A transponder is the heart of satellite communication. It takes the incoming signal, cleans it up, changes its frequency to avoid overlapping with the original, and sends it back to Earth. This new frequency is received by another antenna somewhere else on the planet. The process is simple in principle, but requires extremely precise engineering to work flawlessly. Let's talk about orbits. Satellites can orbit at different altitudes, and each has its own advantages. One of the most common for communication is the geostationary orbit. These satellites sit about 36,000 kilometers above the equator. At that height, they orbit the Earth once every 24 hours, matching the planet's rotation. To us on the ground, they appear to hang motionless in the sky. This makes them ideal for communication because antennas on Earth can be fixed in one position, always pointing at the same spot. That is why your satellite TV dish doesn't need to move. Other satellites use low Earth orbit, much closer at a few hundred kilometers up. These move quickly across the sky, so a network of them is needed to provide continuous coverage. The advantage is reduced delay, since the signals travel shorter distances. That is why new internet constellations like Starlink use swarms of low Earth orbit satellites instead of a few geostationary ones. Now, think about the speed of this process. Radio waves travel at the speed of light, about 300,000 kilometers per second. Even when bouncing to a geostationary satellite and back, the total distance is about 72,000 kilometers. That journey takes just a fraction of a second, creating a slight but noticeable delay in phone calls. With low Earth orbit satellites, the delay is far smaller, almost unnoticeable. This is why the type of orbit matters depending on the service. Television, which doesn't need instant response, works fine with geostationary satellites. Interactive internet or video calls benefit more from low-orbit constellations. Let me share a story. In the early 1960s, the first communication satellite called Telstar was launched. It was a small sphere covered in panels, and when it relayed the first live television signals across the Atlantic, people were amazed. For the first time, Viewers in Europe watched events happening in the United States in real time. It was a glimpse of a connected world that previously existed only in dreams. That moment marked the beginning of global satellite communication, and it set the stage for everything we rely on today. From international calls to live broadcasts of sports and news. But how do satellites handle so many signals at once without chaos? This is where multiplexing comes in. Multiplexing is the art of dividing the available frequency spectrum so that multiple signals can travel simultaneously without interfering with one another. Think of it like lanes on a highway. Each lane carries cars moving in the same direction, but they stay separated to avoid collisions. In satellites, signals are separated by frequency bands or time slots, allowing thousands of conversations, broadcasts, or data streams to flow through the same satellite at the same time. Modern satellites are even smarter, using digital processing to compress signals, making them more efficient and allowing even more traffic to pass. Another fascinating aspect is the design of the antennas themselves. The parabolic shape ensures that radio waves are focused into a narrow beam, maximizing energy efficiency. On the satellite, antennas are carefully oriented to cover specific regions of Earth. These coverage areas are called footprints. A satellite might cover an entire continent, or it might be designed for smaller regions. Some satellites even have steerable beams, allowing operators to redirect coverage based on demand. For example, during a major sporting event, extra capacity can be aimed at the host country to handle the surge in demand. Let's not forget about the challenges. One is latency, the delay caused by distance. Another is weather. Heavy rain or storms can weaken satellite signals, a phenomenon called rain fade. Engineers design systems to compensate for this, either by boosting power or using frequencies less affected by moisture. Then there's the issue of congestion in orbit. Thousands of satellites are already circling Earth, and with new constellations launching hundreds more, avoiding collisions is a serious concern. This has led to the rise of space traffic management, a new field dedicated to keeping orbit safe and sustainable. Security is another big topic. Because satellite signals travel long distances through open space, they are vulnerable to interception or jamming. To protect them, encryption is used, scrambling the data so only authorized receivers can understand it. Military satellites go even further, using advanced techniques to prevent enemies from disrupting communications. In fact, satellite communication has always been closely tied to defense, from early warning systems to secure global networks for armies and navies. But the impact on everyday life is just as profound. Think about live sports broadcasts. When you watch the Olympics or a World Cup match happening on the other side of the world, satellites are what bring it to your screen in real time. Think about disaster relief. When earthquakes or hurricanes knock out ground infrastructure, satellites provide emergency communication, connecting rescuers and governments. Or think about remote villages, oil rigs, or ships at sea. Without satellites, they would be isolated. With them, they are connected to the rest of the world. Let's imagine the future. As technology advances, satellites are becoming smaller, cheaper, and more powerful. CubeSats, tiny satellites the size of a shoebox, can be launched in swarms, providing coverage and experimentation at low cost. High-throughput satellites can handle enormous amounts of data, rivaling terrestrial networks. And new concepts like inter-satellite links allow satellites to talk to each other in space, creating mesh networks that speed up global communication. The dream is a planet where no one is offline, where every corner of Earth is connected through space-based infrastructure. Here's a comparison to spark your imagination. Think of the internet as a nervous system. Fiber optic cables are like the spinal cord, carrying massive amounts of information quickly, but limited to fixed routes. Satellites are like the nerves reaching into remote limbs, extending connectivity to places where cables cannot go. Together, they create a global system that keeps humanity connected, informed, and aware. So how is satellite communication made possible? By sending signals from Earth to orbiting satellites, relaying them through transponders, and beaming them back down across vast distances. By using precise orbits, powerful antennas, and clever engineering to overcome the challenges of space. By combining speed, multiplexing, and security to handle millions of simultaneous users. It is the invisible web that stretches above us, linking continents, oceans, and people with a technology so seamless, we often forget it is even there. And now, I want to ask you, did you already know how much work goes into making a satellite call or broadcast happen? Have you ever experienced a moment where you realized you were watching or hearing something live from across the globe thanks to satellites? Share your thoughts in the comments, because I want to hear your stories. And if this video gave you a new perspective on the hidden systems above our heads, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into the technologies and curiosities shaping our world.